It's always a party at Patchworks. Let's get this party started. Woot, woot. Hi, everyone. This is Julie from Patchworks, and I'm so excited that you're joining us for another Must Sew TV tonight here at Patchworks. So every Thursday night, we go live at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time and show you some really amazing things. Now tonight, our program is our Patchworks exclusive Moda University. Don't worry, you don't need a membership to watch tonight. If you like what you see and you want to get all the goodies, well, you can go ahead and join and enjoy awesome membership discounts all year long. But we have some really great things for you to look at. And if you love the project that you just see tonight, we can, of course, hook you up with that as well. You can see I have a really great quilt that we're going to be talking about tonight. I also have a table runner. Then we're going to be talking about how to make a smaller version of that and turning it into a pillow. I know a lot of you have been super curious about the pillows that we have been working on, and so I thought I would break it down for how to turn a quilt block or small piece into a pillow. So let's get started and check out all the new fabric. So I'm going to clear the little presentation board that I started with for our splash screen for when we got started, and then I'm going to bring up a board to show you the great new fabrics that came in this month that are options for our club members. All right, let's look at the overhead here. And let's get this into position for everyone. Da, da, da. Ah, look at this, it's so pretty. And let's see here if we can make this go away. Very good. So you can see all the gorgeous fabrics. So we have 6 different fabric combinations we're going to show you today. The first one that we have is Beautiful Day by Corey Yoder. And what we have here selected 12 gorgeous fabrics from the line. We've put them together into a beautiful fat 1/8 pack. We also have a supersized fat 1/4 pack available if that is something that interests you. Now we are doing 12 fabrics in 2022, so that fat 1/4 pack is actually a fat stack, which is an awesome, awesome, awesome kit starter. Next, we have Frankie by Basic Gray. So no, this isn't named after my beloved husband. It is named Frankie, and I'm not quite sure what the name is for, but it is definitely a retro line and has some throwbacks to some of the colors of the 60s and 70s. Then we have this charming collection of delightful backgrounds, and this is Birthday by Ruby Star Society. Once again, in the fat 1/8 and fat 1/4. Now for the birthday line, and we'll talk about the full line or the line later, we did get all the coordinates here. There are some other focal pieces in the line, but we focused on these really cool background coordinates. Okay, so what else do we have? Then we have 3 more options. So this particular fabric line here, this is Prairie Day by Bunny Hill Design, and it is a really cutesy patriotic line. Then look at those little sheepies, they're so cute. So we have the fat 1/8 and the fat 1/4 pack. Oh, and look at these great fabrics. So these are amazing backgrounds. They are modern backgrounds, Even More Paper by Zen Chic. We have those right here. And then for our color builders, we chose red as our color inspiration for the month, as that goes along with our Aurifil Club Color Builder color, which we'll be seeing next week. But here we changed it up a little bit, and so we did red and white into saturated reds. So I know a lot of the times when we do these color builder packs, we pick more saturated colors, and I thought it would be really nice for this particular collection to show you some pieces that really had that red and white combo to make it appear lighter. And we have those stash builders available in the fat quarter and fat eighth as well. Now, if you like more than one, you of course can purchase as many as you'd like, and they are really awesome. So let's take a peek at should we look at the project? Does that sound like a good idea? And then we can get into some fun fabrics? Yeah, let's look at the projects. So Frank, let's take a peek at the quilt behind me. And this particular pattern is designed specifically for our presentation tonight. It's inspired from a Moda University quilt that we had shared back in, oh my goodness, like maybe 2009, 2008, 2009, from a collection called Peace on Earth. And it was done as a much larger quilt, but I really liked the concept of this quilt by being able to showcase pieces of fabric and stringing them together with a single accent piece. You could mix it up as well and have these accent pieces be scrappy, but I thought that it was really nice being able to have the cohesive accent of that connecting ribbon throughout and these gorgeous offset rectangles just to showcase the beautiful fabric. You are able to make this size here with your fat stack and a little bit of background and your accent fabric. In the Frankie collection, there are several new grunges released, and so this particular blue grunge is a blue from the new collection. You are going to be cutting 4.5 by 7.5 inch rectangles to form this particular size, and that means that you can get 8 units out of a fat quarter or a straight quarter. In order to make that, you'll need a total of 85 of the rectangles in order to make it. Let me grab my little pieces here and let's look overhead, Frank. So you're going to be preparing these 4.5 by 7.5, and you can cut them so how they would be cut to 2 rows, subcut there, so you'd get 8 out of each fat quarter. And then what you're going to do is for your connector ribbons, you actually are going to be piecing background. So this is 1.5 inches, 2.5, and 1.5 inches, and subcutting at the 2.5 so that you get these. I didn't want to torture you with my cutting along the way because, you know, sometimes I make little oopses, and I know we have a lot of to cover today, so we thought that we would just do some pre-cutting, okay? The other thing that you're going to need is that you're going to need 4.5 by 5 inch rectangles of the background, and that are going to be the start and stop of your alternating rows. So Frank, we have a picture of the full quilt, if you can pull that up for us. So here you can see, da-da-da, let me come over here. Here we go. So you can see the full size of the quilt behind me, and I can't point, but over on the bottom, I'm not the weather girl, but you can see at the bottom and the top how there is that start and end of that background. So the way that the quilt is created is in vertical rows. And what I really, really like about it is that you don't have any seam intersections because you're staggering the pieces, okay? And that works out really, really nice. So you can either very painstakingly lay out all of your rectangles to have them just as you like, or you can toss them in a bag and then pick one up so that for each next one, as you are assembling the long strips that you're putting together, you are going to be putting together strips of 7 for the long and 6 for the alternating short. And what you can see here, if you look at the full-size quilt, is that we have an odd number of rows here so that we had that sense of symmetry. Okay, so I have my little OCD going on, that I wanted to make sure that I had the same type of row on both sides. Okay, it might look a little odd to the eye if this was our end. Okay, and maybe not, maybe that wouldn't bother you at all, but it would bother me. Okay, so when you are putting your rows together, as I said, you can lay everything out. If you are going to lay anything out, you can play some exercises. I sometimes call it the Sudoku rule, where you check and you make sure that you don't have the same fabric repeating in the vertical, horizontal, or the chunk, like your 9-patch chunk around it, okay? When you only have 12 fabrics, 3 colors, and very limited number of patterns, it's really challenging to do that. And so rather than obsess about it, sometimes it's better to just go for it and put it together, okay? If you really, really, really wanted to make sure that nothing touched, if that was in your world what you needed for your quilt, I would recommend you increase the number of fabrics that you use in your quilt. So a lot of what we show you here at the store is 12 fabrics. If you weren't wanting anything touching, I'd recommend 25 or more fabrics to make it easier on yourself to not have the touching fabrics. Does that make sense? Okay. So now let's look back at the board. And we can look, how might we put this together? So we're putting them together in rows like this. Okay. And then our alternating row looks like this. And you only put these on the end. I just was having it look like this so that we could just see it for concept. Does that make sense? Dun, da, da. And so really nice going together. Of course, this is scalable to do all sorts of different sizes. So we had a lot of fun with this. Definitely showcases some great fabrics that you don't want to cut up. This is also very layer cake friendly, as well as if you have a whole bunch of fat eighths, you could cut it from fat eighths. Of course, you could cut it from larger yardage as well. Any questions on this particular concept? We have Tammy at the keyboard tonight, and so she's more than happy to pass on any questions that you have. And no questions, which is cool. So I really like it. It's a nice and simple project and goes together really nice. You could absolutely make this larger simply by adding borders to it. We did not add any borders to it. The original quilt that inspired this project had no borders. The other real reason why I don't like to add borders when I show it to you is that when we hang it on the wall, we're dealing with limited space, so I very rarely put borders on things. The other thing is that I want you to be able to imagine whatever fabric that you would like on it. And so I want to give you the opportunity to build your own ideal quilt to have frame your centerpiece. If I were to put a border on it, I would probably put a inner border of maybe this accent, or I might choose like this sage that I used for the binding and then put something on the outside. I could also, well, I don't know, maybe I would do the background. What do you think? So, but I do like my borderless quilts. It's really a fun project, and it's so fun that we made it in 2 different ways. So the next way that we made it as a table runner. And this one we used Beautiful Day by Corey Yoder. And this is 16 by 44. We used our fat 1/8 pack, and you had plenty of fabric plenty of fabric left over. We chose one of our fat 1/8s to use as our sashing or little accent rather than getting a separate piece of fabric here. And then we got some extra fabric to be our binding. We chose this super sweet gingham that's printed on the diagonal as a binding. I think it works really, really well. Oh, we have a question.
For the quilt, is there enough fabric in our fat 1/8 pack, or do we need 2?
So the question is, to make this quilt, can you make it with a fat 1/8 pack? And the answer is, I made this from the fat 1/4 pack, okay? So a fat 1/4 pack can yield 96 rectangles. We needed 85. And so, Tammy, what is 96 divided by 2? 48. You'd be able to get 48 rectangles from this. So you would be able to make a smaller crib size quilt, something larger than this, but you would not be able to make something as large as this. Does that make sense? So if you wanted to, so yes, you would want 2 fat 1/8 packs or 1 fat 1/4 pack to make that.
And if you're a fat 1/8 member, you can upgrade.
And if you are a fat 1/8 member and you would like to upgrade, you absolutely can upgrade. So this year we wanted to make it really easy for all of our members to be able to upgrade. So you are able to upgrade from the fat 1/8 anytime. Just like you can buy extra packs, you can upgrade to the fat 1/4 pack. So hopefully that makes sense.
Deb wants to see the back of the Beautiful Day Table Runner.
Ooh, you want to see the back? Deb wants to see the back of the Beautiful Day Table Runner. So here we use this gorgeous print from the line, and isn't this gray fantastic? Ugh. So gray is just so on trend, and I love, love, love it. It's just gray and white, clean lines, so beautiful. The other thing I wanted to point out, I failed to share this with you. Do you see how my alternating rows, I have prints? So I thought it might be fun to have some half blocks with the printed fabric, since I had plenty to choose from here, and it gives it a little bit of a different look. The other thing that you could do, if we were talking about just being crazy, is that your smaller pieces here that are your connectors, lay it down on the table. Frank's gonna help me out here. See, it takes a village, I'm telling you. Okay, so these here, so remember we talked about how we strip pieced this? And if you wanted to, you could have these be scrappy. Now, if they were scrappy, you could do some smaller pieces of strip piecing, or you simply could take your 1.5 inch rectangles, and so you would have 1.5 inch by 2.5 inch rectangles and 2.5 inch square units that you could just simply piece. And Tammy loves cutting, and so I know she's laughing over there in the corner. She was complaining today about something, how she had to cut all these rectangles. So Tammy would prefer this method where you subcut, but there are some of you who may prefer to just sew together the different units and have everything all scrappy. So different things that you could look at. Also, if you're dealing with a directional fabric, depending on how you're working with it, you might be able to change the orientation to fussy cut it, depending on how much you want to use it. Okay. So I love this table runner. We made it a third way, okay? And the third way, because I told you we could make it with just a small, like if you want to try it and make a taste of it, and we use the fabric just a little bit differently as well. So let me pull that up. I'm going to pull all my pieces close here. Dun, dun, dun. I went into the basement. Not really. So here, you can see, oh, we have the start of a super cute little pillow. We're going to look at it on our overhead as well. I don't know if the whole thing will fit under it. Maybe not quite. Oh, pretty close. Let me pull it down a little bit. All right, so this is 20 by 20 inch square. And you can see we have a much more controlled palette here. Okay. I'm going to try to straighten it out here. It's weird. Everything's like kind of weird reverse. Okay, so you can see I used my little sheepies in blue, the same place here. So I think I drew it out for Heidi and I said A, B, C, D, E, C, B, A, E, D, A, B, C. Whew, that was hard, okay? And then I used one of the pieces here, the lighter pieces, for my sashing. So I again used half pieces for the start and end. And rather than in our table runner, where I started and ended with whole pieces, I started and ended with half pieces, okay? And then I added this guy to the top and bottom where I didn't. So you can see how you can just change that up. So this was the full size. Just so many different ways that you can do this. So if I'm going to make a pillow, I'm just going to make a mini quilt, okay? A little wall table topper size. This is a very large pillow. It's going to be a 20-inch, and we have 20-inch pillow forms. We have 14, 16, 18, and 20s, all which have really, we have soft Hobbs poly down pillow forms here at the store that are very economically priced. What we do is we put after we piece it, I back it with a fusible fleece, okay? Just irons on. You can tell on this particular one, I'm not worried I don't have a lining with this, okay? So you can hear my rough hands against it maybe. If you wanted to have an heirloom pillow, well, then you would just quilt it like you would quilt a quilt, where you would have your back fabric, regular batting, and then your quilt top, and then you can quilt it accordingly. We did not quilt anything here. You absolutely can add some stitching. For most pillows I do, but you can also simply fuse it, especially if you are just putting it on your couch and going to have it last for a little bit if you have seasonal pillows that you want to change out all the time. So that would be all I would do for my pillow top, okay? Now, the pillow back. Oh my goodness, this is super scary. I actually know, I was talking with a couple customers this past week who were really scared. And, you know, we're used to quilting and piecing things, and so the concept of sewing can sometimes be scary. So I put together some stuff here, a couple boards. So what I like to do is I make a back, and then I bind the two pieces. And you can use our bias binding on a roll. You're going to be limited in your colors, but if you didn't want to go ahead and make binding, you can just buy binding off the roll. So you're going to want a zipper. Now in this case, because we're making a 20-inch zipper, you can either modify a smaller zipper or go ahead and get one of our 22-inch long zippers. So we have 22-inch long zippers in a variety of different colors. They are Atkinson design colors, and they are $2.25, right, Frank? $2.25 a piece? Something like that. $2.25 a piece. And we're going to want fabric. We just used a solid just for purposes of discussion. You could, of course, have really pretty fabric. You could piece something together. And then you want some fusible fleece. Now, some people don't always back it. For my pillow, the way I like to make it, I always use fusible fleece behind my backing as well. Okay, so Wonder Clips can come in super handy as well. We sell them in the 10-pack, in the 50-pack, in a variety of colors, or just the red. Okay, so you would fuse your fusible fleece to your piece that you want to use for your backing. I started with a 20-inch square for both of them. Then what you're going to do is you are going to cut your piece. Now here I like to be a little artsy, and so I offset it. You could do right down the middle, but because this is fabric, it's not always perfect. I like to offset. So I did a 7.5-inch cut. You could do whatever you want, okay? But just a straight cut after you fused it. And then, of course, if you had wanted to quilt it before, you absolutely could do it, but I was just being completely utilitarian and simply fused it on. Now to sew on the zipper. Oh, it's super scary, Julie. I don't want to do it. It's really not scary. And what you're going to do is you can just use your 1/4-inch foot. What? How crazy is that? So you are going to position right side. Let me move this board down so that you don't see the secret pieces behind me, okay? So you're going to start with this guy here. And I am just going to center, so do you see it's put our right sides together. And you can use the Wonder Clip to hold everything in place. You totally need the big box because it has this, we took some out, don't worry. It comes with more than that. We just use them everywhere. So, but it's really nice because you just have this nice little holder box. Holder box. I am just using all of the words today. Okay, so, da-da-da. So what you can do now is you go to your sewing machine, and do you see here how it starts? It hangs off the edge on both edges, okay? And I want to make sure that I don't sew over my zipper pull, so I just leave that up there. We're going to sew a 1/4-inch all the way down, and I like to do I can use all the words today. The back and forth, a back stitch. Yes, I'm going to lock my stitch. So typically when we're quilting, I don't do my locking. I just straight sew so I don't have extra bulk, but you don't want your zipper going anywhere. So you're going to make sure that happens. Okay, Then what you're going to do is you're going to flip it back. Okay, so you are going to, after you sew it, and I used white thread here so that you could see it. See, I'm learning white thread. Oh, we can't see the blue zipper. I probably should have used a red zipper. Okay, so I folded it back and then I stitched a 1/4-inch. Okay, let me pull this up for you so you can see it a little bit. Can you see that? Okay, so now guess what we're going to do? Any guesses? I bet I'm going to say that we are going to attach it to the other side. So we're just going to position this here. Now, because I didn't put a backing stitch on it, I actually want to sew it this way, because if I sew it this way, it's going to drag on the bottom of my machine, on the bottom of my foot, okay? And then it's going to stretch this, and then we're going to be sad. So we don't want to be sad. So we're going to prepare it like this. Okay? So the same thing that we did before, okay? Clip it, and then we'll stitch. So we'll stitch 1/4-inch, stitch all the way down, make sure to back stitch to tack it down on both ends. And then when we open it up, we will edge stitch it down here as well. Oh, I might have been a little bit of a rush here. It's a little bit crooked on this side. That's all right. You won't be using the contrasting thread like I do. You'll be using a blending thread, so it won't pop out. So that was pretty simple. It goes really, really quick. But notice I still have my tails. Okay, and here in this kind of, I must have stretched this guy a little bit there. That's all right. So we're going to pull my zipper pull and put them in the center. This is really, 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 really important. Did I say really important? Really, really, really important. Because we're going to be trimming this and you don't want to cut your zipper pull off. I mean, you can reattach this, but it makes life really, really difficult, so you don't want to do that. So we're going to take that off. And then we're just going to sew over that a few times, and then we're going to take our craft scissor, not our really good fabric shears, and we're going to cut off the end, okay? Then, are you ready for this? This is super exciting. Okay, remember we made this? All we're going to do now is we are going to put this on top. Dun da dun dun da dun dun da dun. So we have this on the outside, this on the back side. We're going to wonder clip it in place. We're going to baste around the edge, and then you're going to bind it. Ha! Look at that. So I have another pillow here that is totally a different style, but is a pillow just so you can see what I've done here. Okay, so totally different pillow, but this is just binding finish on the back and the front. So here we did something fancy where we pieced our fabric together. Okay, you can totally do that. And here, it's a different size pillow, but we used the June Taylor Zippity Doo Dun zipper for that. I believe they're 18 inches long, so it wouldn't work for your 20-inch zipper or your 20-inch pillow forms, but anything smaller, you would be able to use one of those zippers. Okay, so any questions on that? We have a question.
So, would 3 of the rows, like you have on the pillow or the table runner, make a placemat size?
So the question is, would 3 of the rows make a placemat? So let's see here. So I'm thinking, so what do we think a placemat size is? We have a placemat somewhere around here, maybe? So do we have a placemat around? So does anybody say, so this particular one, let's just talk. Let's just talk. So this is, if we did this here, okay, so if we did this and you did it sideways, this would be 12 by 16. That could be a small but nice placemat, okay? If you did the pillow, which I have on the bottom here, let's turn them this way. So this seems too large for me. So, So this is, I think I like the size that was this. And if you had wanted to make it a little longer, you know, put the edges on, you could. But to me, I think I would like this. I don't have a plate here. Do we have the...
We have the quilt as you go.
I know, so I was hoping somebody would get one of them. So we're checking on the size of a placemat here if no one piped in from the audience. And Frank's going and searching for us. But those are also good questions. And so I really like how you're thinking about, like, how can I make this as a different thing, okay? Also, we were talking about, like, how many could you get out of that fat eighth pack? And so I said you could get 48 out of them. So you absolutely could make a quilt that would be, you know, a nice quilt. This is 4 inches across, so 9 rows would be, so you could get something 9 rows across by something down. I'm sure that would be able to be a really nice, but she's laughing at me over there. And so, Tammy, we also have one, Frank's not finding it. It's in the, on top of the fall fabric in the back area. So we've rearranged the store today. So if you are local, you are totally going to want to come in because we freshened up everything. We've been getting in so much new fabric, and so it's really exciting. And we've been moving stuff around, and well, maybe we don't know where anything is, but we'll have that size for that table runner for you, or a placemat. Could also make a smaller version where you make this scale down a little bit.
So these are 17 by 14.
Okay, so the June Taylor Quilt As You Go placemats, which have kind of been like our dimensions of this is how it is, they are 17 by 14. So I really think if we did the 16. Okay, so Kathy says 14, so we're in the range here. So going 12 by 16, I think would be completely appropriate. And so that would be 3 rows, like for the table runner version, but done horizontally. If you want to figure out the math to do it vertically, that's awesome. I totally invite, and then you can share it with us. That'd be great. So this is a finished 4-inch row, if you look at it this way, and 7 inches that way. So we just have the filler that complicates things with our math for being able to do it super quick. All right, so I love that interactive math going on, and being able to, you know, that's one of the reasons why we go live here, so that we really can think things through together and talk about being able to make an idea better with your input. So I hope that showing you that little bit of walking you through how you can turn something into a pillow was helpful, and let us know different things either during the week or by message, what extra little tidbits we can add along the way, because well, I just know that you want to know all of the things, so we want to help you learn all of the things. Did you have another question for me, Tim? Oh, we heart quilt math. I love it. Heart quilt math. I was on the phone yesterday with the accountant, and we were having like wars as to who could do the calculations quickest. So you're going back and like, no, I can calculate that quicker. And like, quick, 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 quick. And it was fun because I actually calculated a few things quicker than he did. All right, so I digress. I think we should talk about some of the gorgeous fabric lines that we shared with you that we have in, and some really exciting stuff about the fabric, okay? So we talked about the gorgeous, beautiful day fabric, and this is a fabric line by Corey Yoder. So Frank, can we see Corey Yoder? In case if you've never seen her. There she is. She's so sweet. So that's her with her in her studio with her fabric. We have half yard tower of the whole line, and we weave them so it only looks like there's half of them here, but the other half is over here. So pretty. So we have all of the pre-cuts as well, the layer cakes, jelly rolls, charm packs. We have fat quarter stacks as well. And this one does have a panel. So this panel, we can just look at this now. So the panel, it's really interesting, and I wasn't sure when I saw it at first if I was excited about it. It's printed 58-60 inches wide, and you get 6 blocks on a row, and a full repeat has 4 rows, okay? And so they're printed, and you can either have the white on red or the traditional green and red. And now you might say, Julie, oh my goodness, I'm thinking Christmas. No, don't think Christmas. Think of those gorgeous applique quilts that are antique quilts that are done the traditional red and green. And that is what we're looking at here, those gorgeous quilts. And with this, there is an absolutely amazingly stunning quilt kit. And this quilt kit I'm going to show you here. Let's flip up we have the picture of that quilt, Frank. So in the box here, okay, so you can see there that there are, so those squares are not appliqued, those are the cut of the panels, okay, so you're using one of each of the panels, and then the alternating square is a courthouse step block, okay? So you can see there are the other fabrics. Let's get back under camera here. Okay, so get back, so you have the alternating fabrics and the pattern and the panels in here in this gorgeous box kit. We do have the pattern available separately, as we do have panels available. So not a ton of piecing. It's just these extra courthouse step blocks, which I love it when you have it, when it looks much harder than it actually is. So it's $139.99, so that's an excellent price for a kit. And the quilt top finishes 74 by 90, which is a really, really great size, especially for the price of the kit. The patterns are available for $9.95, and you can see here what that alternating block is. Just really simply, you're making a whole bunch of these courthouse step blocks. Simply beautiful with Beautiful Day. Now let's take a peek at these fabrics, because I know you want to see them all up close. So we're going to fan them out for you. And Melissa came in this afternoon, and she had picked up a pre-cut. So she had already finished her a table topper top, and she was just looking for some binding. So we have some gorgeous fabrics here. Look at that dot. So it's dots on dots. Nice line work here. Really great backgrounds. And Cori Yoder goes with Cori Yoder things. I know we don't carry a ton of her stuff in the store, but it's fresh and springy. And look at that green. This one here, oh, so you have this rainbow, not rainbow, but these different colored stripes, and then it has some writing on it. So it's just numbers, kind of like a ruler. I like the dark backgrounds as well. All this beautiful fabric. So this is Beautiful Day by Cori Yoder. Gorgeous. Next up, we have Frankie from Basic Gray. We got a partial collection of Frankie. You know, we can't get it all. I really wish we could, but we can't. So for the fabric that's featured in the quilt behind me, we got a half collection. We did make sure that we got all of the grunges that were released with this line. You know, we love our grunges. And we have been really fortunate to be restocking a lot of our grunges. So that grunge wall is getting nice and full. We'll be continuing to restock that as well as our other Moda basics. So our half yard tower looks just like this. Ooh, yummy. And our palette that we have in stock, we have some of the dark background. I like that. And then here, so this guy here, we really didn't see it, but there's this tiny little robin, and I don't know if you can see that, but it's not just the flowers. You have this little tiny robin peeking out, and I don't know if it's a robin. I just like to call it a robin. And you know, when you see the robins, well, it's time for spring. And here is an alphabet printed. And I love this string quilt print. We have it in a bunch of colors, and there's the little birdie again. And this is a sweet heart. So it's dots with little hearts in there. And we were talking about this gorgeous fabric and saying it was really reminiscent of the color palette of some Art Deco State Flowers line that we had many moons ago. And it was just, we were saying how cool it was that the colors were similar. So this is the collection that we had received from Frankie. We don't have any other pre-cuts in stock. I have to check. I don't know that we have any Jelly Rolls, layer cakes, or charms coming in. I don't think so. So Frank's at a different computer right now, so he can't check, but I don't think we're waiting on them. I don't know. We are. We are actually. I don't know. I'll let you know. I'll let you know. Oh, we have another question while I'm wrapping this up here. And what's the question?
Jessica says, I do have a super beginner question. Some books I've read said to wash and press fabric before cutting, but some patterns say don't pre-wash. What do I do? I'm such a newbie.
Okay, Jessica had a question, and I'm just going to summarize it here because I can't remember verbatim what it says, but it's the age-old question. Do I pre-wash or not? Oh my goodness. So, you know, we leave religion and politics out of the quilt store. This is kind of that same thing. No, not really. So there's a couple things. So number one, pre-cuts. You never, ever, ever, okay, ever pre-wash your pre-cuts. Why? Because they will just shred. All right. So if you take the beginning class from Lisa, she will make you pre-wash your fabrics, okay? So one of the things that's, well, important to know, so you may have shrinkage. When you wash it, your grain straightens out, right? Because sometimes it's wrapped on the bolt all crazy. And the other thing is that it will take the finish off of your fabric, and if there are any color issues, you will find out if there'd be any bleeding issues along the way. Now, with our Moda fabrics, we have, as well as most print fabrics that we carry in the store today, we have very little issue with a bleed and very little issues with a shrink. Some people like to have the manufacturer finish on it, so even with larger pieces of yardage, they do not pre-wash. If you're using a batik, which we aren't using in our club today at all, I absolutely always pre-wash, unless if I'm working with a small piece of fabric. So I didn't really answer your question. What do I do when we're working here with samples for the store? So when we're working with samples from the store, we never ever pre-wash, only because I'm telling you, we have these go together so quick that I don't create the time to do the pre-wash. If you are doing the pre-wash, I do like to then make sure that I absolutely press and starch everything prior to cutting, which is an extra step. If you are creating an heirloom piece, you absolutely want to make sure that, if you intend for it to last for the next 100 years, by all means, make sure you take every precautionary step along the way to make that happen. If you're trying to make a couple things and you just want to get it done, there is absolutely nothing wrong with not pre-washing. And then the other thing is that you can, when you're preparing your fabric to cut it for the first time, even if you're using a pre-cut, if you, on your ironing board, spray it with either simply water or with starch prior to pressing, you will find out very quickly if your fabric is going to bleed or shrink. So, I hope that addressed the issue by not addressing it at all. The smaller the cut of fabric you have, the harder it is to pre-wash and maintain the integrity. If you are buying wide backs, okay, the wide backs that are 108 wide, those are printed on looser weaves and are much different. They are not as great of fabrics as the ones that are 45 inches wide. You would also want to wash those as well, even if you haven't washed any of the fabric on your quilt top. Okay, so always feel free to ask questions. There is never too basic of a question, and you may or may not like my answer, but I try to give you at least a thorough response. Okay.
Would you pre-wash a quarter yard?
Would I pre-wash a quarter yard? I would still have issue pre-washing a quarter yard. If I did, I would put it in a lingerie bag. And really, you are able to figure out with doing either starching or simply misting on your ironing board to figure out if you're going to have any bleed or shrinkage issues. And then you can address that before you include it in your piece. So I would say half yards are larger, are great. We have some people that serge their ends before they throw them into the washer. That's a whole extra step, and you are going to be wasting extra piece. So use care, and if you are going to wash, make sure to do it, follow your washing instructions like you would wash your laundry. So like colors together, and then also don't wash them in super harsh conditions, and you wouldn't even need to use detergent. Okay, that's the PhD discussion on watching.
Okay, a different question.
Different question.
Do you think Frankie is a good group for Block Bonanza?
Ooh, is Frankie a good line for Block Bonanza? It actually could be, and we'll bring back that right after I finish introducing the other fabrics. But I think that it could be, and I'll tell you why.
Can you explain why you always wash batiks?
Why do I wash batiks?
Yes. Did you say you do pre-wash batiks?
I pre-wash batiks. Yes, I pre-wash. I don't know what are you saying, Frank?
I'm not saying nothing.
Okay. So the reason why I pre-wash batiks is, it's live, folks. Okay, so why do I pre-wash batiks? I pre-wash batiks because of how they are made. So they're made in outdoor conditions, and they're made with wax resist. So oftentimes you'll find that there is wax residual left. I'm sorry, that there's wax residual left on the fabric. You want to make sure that that's done, and as well as it's made outside, so sometimes there's dirt or other particles. If it is what is called a watercolor, we call them batiks, but they really have no resist print on it, and those can often release excess dye quite a lot excess dye. They still remain as saturated in color. They will not shrink at all though, because of how they're made. They're immersed in so much water as part of their whole created process that you don't have to worry about them shrinking. I'm worried about number one, hygiene, and then number two, excess dye in especially those hand dyes. And any other questions?
No, Jessica said thanks. She didn't know washing, not washing was such a controversial.
Oh yes, washing, not washing can be controversial. All right. So,
Frankie pre-cuts, yes.
oh, Frankie pre-cuts, yes. So we have Frankie pre-cuts, yes, and so that's really exciting. They just aren't here yet. And so sometimes we have that happen, especially right now, where we'll have the pre-cuts come months before, or sometimes the pre-cuts come months after. I really don't have the explanation of why or how. I just know that we are very happy these days whenever fabric happens to arrive into the shop. And then we do a little happy dance, a little fabric dance. It's very exciting. Frank doesn't, but I do. So now we're going to talk about modern backgrounds, even more paper. So Zen Chic has started and has continuing a really amazing lines of what we're going to call low volume. Say it with me, low volume. So low volume prints are prints that have a little bit of color or background texture. It could be color or it could be monochromatic, like in this case it's monochromatic. And with this line, it's very contemporary, but you have whites, you have this porcelainy background, you have the cream background, okay? Then we have some light gray background that we're going to be getting to, and some dark gray. So I'm really excited to see this new extension of the modern backgrounds. Really nice. You can use these as backgrounds, or you could use them together as a monochromatic quilt. Okay? So we have that yardage in stock. We have fat quarter towers available. If you needed a half yard tower, we'd be more than happy to cut for you. So just let us know. I believe we sold the last of our half yard tower earlier this week, but we would be more than happy to cut for you. And we have all of them in stock. Okay. Then we have the birthday fabric. So that was the Sarah Watts fabric that we had here. Let me see here. So we showed you these really cool pieces of fabric. So we have the coordinate bolts, but we have the whole half yard bundle, 24 pieces. There are some other prints in here that we did not get. I do have an extra half yard bundle available from the manufacturer. So this is one of the last half yard bundles that is available. Ruby Star has stopped making the half yard cuts. So we'll be doing the half yard towers direct rather than having them from the manufacturer. So if anybody was interested, we have, I believe, one available that's not spoken for. And we just got those in today. Then we have Prairie Days. We got a partial collection of this. We got 20 pieces of Prairie Days. And that is this really sweet line from Bunny Hill. And we didn't leave it open here, so I'm going to just quick fan it open. Nice patriotic Americana line. I think it will go really well with Minnick & Simpson, and it really will go well with the Snow Days, Crystal Lane from Bunny Hill as well, which was blue and cream. It had that tan in there. You would leave the tan out, but that could really go well here together. So, and we introduced Crystal Lane last year. Oh, Tammy took away the,
No, I'm just putting it.
oh, sure. Yes, that's,
I know. We didn't do that.
oh, okay. Thank you. So Tammy's taking care of some admin stuff for us. So thank you so much, Tammy, for making all of that happen. And we have 20 beautiful pieces. We do have we have a half-yard tower as well as the layer cakes, charm packs, and jelly roll of the entire line. Last but not least, we have a preview of another delightful fabric line that's coming. And this is one of them that we got the pre-cuts first. So we're super excited that we got Minnick & Simpson's newest line in pre-cuts, and that is called Newport. And I'll show you here. Gorgeous. So we'll see it overhead here. I don't have the fabrics to fan for you, but we have some blues, light blues, creams, and then a little bit of that tan. And so I know there's a glare off of the overheads here, but you can see that. And so this will work really well with the Bunny Hill Crystal Lane as well, which is awesome. I love how Moda goes with Moda. So make sure to snatch those up sooner than later, and then we are expecting yardage as it ships. So that is the Newport fabric. Now, ooh, my goodness, I just looked at the clock. I have kept you guys a lot. So we're just going to talk about one more thing before I let you go. And that is our Block Bonanza program. And we kicked that off last week. So you'd want to make sure you can look back on our YouTube or our Facebook channel. You can look at all of our previous posts on our YouTube channel whenever you'd like. And if you love YouTube, I invite you to subscribe to our channel. We are looking to get over 1,000 subscribers. Did you know that when you watch all those crazy ads on YouTube, I can't control whether or not you see them or not, but until we have 1,000 subscribers, all of those little those fractions of the penny go to YouTube. So we can get like fractions of the penny on our channel if we have more than 1,000 users or subscribers. So anyhow, help us get to 1,000 subscribers so that we can get 2 cents a month. Yay! Okay, so Block Bonanza. I'm really crazy today. I'm sorry. So Block Bonanza is a 6-inch block sampler. It's a separate program from Moda, but I know a lot of the times if you've watched our Moda or have been a part of Moda for years, we have had a Block of the Month component. So we wanted to make sure that we had a nod to our traditional quilters and piecers. It of course can be done in a contemporary way, but 6-inch samplers can be a lot of fun. So we just introduced the program, and there are 49, I believe, 49 different blocks in here. We are going to be starting piecing them in March. We are going to be going for 12 months, so this is going to roll into 2023. I can't even believe I'm saying that. I can barely say 2022 these days, but we're going to roll in. So don't worry, it's not going to be super fast paced. And I think it takes just as much time to cut as it does to piece these, okay? There are a couple doozies in here, but for the most part, they're just small, fun little pieces. So we have this pattern designed by Sarah J. And she colored 2 different versions of them. So you can see this one here looks a little bit more contemporary and it's a little bit more monochromatic. It has like the modern backgrounds with a little bit of color in here. And then we have the Joe Morton color here. We do have one kit available if you want to make it just like this. But what I invite you to do is I invite you to either buy a giant stack of fabric to start from for your blocks or to look in your stash, okay? So I know I do a really good job at selling you a lot of fabric and I want you to use it. So that is where this can start. Now, someone asked a little bit ago, could they use the Frankie? Okay, so the Frankie here, what I really like about it is that it's a nice small scale. Okay, so if we look here, the pieces are pretty small. So if you look at the fabric, it looks really nice. Now, I'm just going to pull one piece of fabric here from our Beautiful Day collection to see how, like this, you see how it's condensed in print and really tight and small pieces. This is a gorgeous piece of fabric, but if I'm using a small square, I might get this, or I might get this, or I might get this. So then it looks like 3 different pieces of fabric. Now you absolutely can still use a larger scale print like this, or one that has more open space in it. However, you may choose to fussy cut it in order to see it, or you may use it on purpose in order to have one piece of fabric represent 3 unique pieces of fabric. Does that make sense? But I really like using something like Frankie for Black Bonanza. It's Julie approved. As you're choosing your fabrics to make Black Bonanza, and we'll be doing this all year, so you don't have to decide today if you want to do this or not. I'm just going to be focusing for the first several months on your blocks. Do not worry about your backgrounds. The only reason why you'd want to worry about your border right now is if you were going to take something fabric line specific. So let's say this customer decided to do Frankie, and she wanted this to be her border. Absolutely go ahead and buy your fabric for your border now, because by the time you're done with your quilt next year, this fabric will not be here, if everything goes well in Patchworks World. So,
How much is
the Black Bonanza pattern is $32, and I recommend that you go ahead then and get a binder and page protectors to put it in, okay? And if you watch along in last week's program, I recommend you using the page protectors to insert your fabric that you've cut in preparation for making it, or your finished block, okay? So that works really, really well. Don't be obsessed with matching your fabrics numbers here. I am going to be making it by literally choosing, so here I need 4 fabrics. I'm going to be choosing 4 fabrics for the month to make that block. So I am not worried about translating the entire quilt ahead of time. Does that make sense? Lots of fun. And we do have a coloring sheet available as well if you'd wanted a coloring sheet for those of you that are buying the pattern. Sarah J was super awesome by providing us with a coloring sheet for those of you who are playing along with us. The finished size is 70 by 70. Do we have any more questions? All right, I am so happy that you followed along with us tonight. I hope you had a lot of fun. I know we got a little silly along the way, you know, real life, but I don't think we lost connection tonight. Yay! So technology was in our favor. So a question is, would a fat quarter tower of Frankie be sufficient for the blocks? And there are, how many are there in here? Are there 20? 28 fat quarters. You know, 28 fat quarters, that's 7 yards of fabric. That should be pretty close. You may want to, you could always add, you know, even if you're starting from your stash. So start with the things, add to it along the way. The other thing too, like let's say you add fabric in along the way, we are not tied to having the fixed positions of our blocks according to what the layout is. If you add fabric at the end and you're like, oh, I don't want it to look like this corner is new, we can totally lay out your blocks after all of your blocks are done and have it be your own finish, okay? So it's just fun to play along, and I think that the 28 fat quarter tower will definitely get you on your way to making those blocks. If you have any additional questions on anything that we've presented tonight, or who knows, anything at all related to the quilting world, feel free to leave us a message, drop us a note, come and visit us, or if you're calling, or if you're from afar, we also invite you to call us at the store. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Happy quilting, and we'll see you soon.